I know you've been busy, so thanks for being on with me. It's been a couple of months.
Pleasure. Hmm.
We
It
had,
goes fast.
you know, it does go fast. So I got tons of questions to throw at you. Okay.
Okay.
Since the last time we met, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, pretty much said, "Stop your whining." What? How do you respond to something like that?
Well,
This is according to Bill 23.
yes, I remember. I don't think the residents of Mississauga think I'm whining. I think they believe that I'm standing up for their interests. And in fact, I'm doing my job by revealing issues that have a negative impact on our city. And, that's my job to do that. There are much of the legislation that is being proposed will have a significant detrimental effect to the finances of municipalities. As you know, I'm the incoming chair of the Ontario Big City Mayors. So it's not just Mississauga, it's all of us at risk. But in that circumstance, I was speaking on behalf of Mississauga taxpayers because it's their taxes that could increase. So I think that the Mississauga residents appreciate when I stand up and I speak out when there is legislation that's being proposed that would detrimentally impact our city, our quality of life, and particularly our property tax rates. Mm-hmm.
So let me ask about Bill 23 because obviously we know what Bill 23 is about because we're in the media, but some people just don't know what that's about. So why is Bill 23 bad for Mississauga?
Well, there are a lot of reasons, but let me start off by the positives. So the premier is very passionate about building what he's calling attainable housing. And I too am very passionate about ensuring that we build affordable housing. So there's a little bit of a gap there because we have a difference of definition. I want affordable, I want housing that's more housing, and I want it to be affordable. And the Premier would like to build attainable housing. So Bill 23 is an attempt by the provincial government to ensure there is more supply in the market, that more gets built. And as you have seen, that municipalities are given targets in which to build, which are very aggressive, may I say. They're very ambitious. But we have a plan that I think we can accomplish them. The biggest problem with Bill 23 is that the development community are provided incentives to build more on the back of the taxpayer. So ultimately, we suffer because it could mean tax increases in the neighborhood of 5 to 10%. If we are asked to waive the development charges for attainable housing, my largest concern is that there's no guarantee that that benefit will be passed on to the home purchaser. There is nothing in the legislation that says the amount that you have waived, that the municipality has waived in their development charges, let's call it $100,000, whatever it might be, that needs to be passed on to the home purchaser to make the final product, the home, more attainable, more affordable. That is not in the legislation. There's no guarantee that that amount of money will be passed on because we know that market conditions are what determines the ultimate price of the home, not the cost. The cost is the cost. Everyone is affected the same. And right now we are seeing labor shortages, supply chain issues, financing issues as we see finance rates increasing, interest rates increasing. So all those are also factors, not just the development charges. So there's no guarantee if I waive those DCs, we'll be out the money. It'll be on the back of the taxpayer, and there's no guarantee that it'll get passed on to the home purchaser. So that is one of the largest issues, and that amount of money equals almost $1 billion, 885 million over 10 years. So let's call it 85 million a year. And that's a significant gap in
Just
my
to
revenue stream, just in Mississauga. So we're talking tens of millions. Toronto is talking hundreds of millions and billions over the decade. So these are significant impacts to our revenue stream because at the end of the day, we're very limited in how we collect revenue. It's 60% property taxes, right? And about 20% are development charges. Gas tax and government transfers make up the balance, and some user fees. But largely property taxes and development charges. And when we are hampered. I mean, $85 million is a serious amount of money. It's 20% of my capital budget a year.
Are you looking for that, for compensation in regards to that
I
from
think
the?
the right thing to do would be to compensate cities. So I don't know, there has been talk of a plan. There has been talk of audits on our books to determine whether, you know, our losses are as large as we claim. I welcome that because, you know, we're very fiscally prudent. We're very smart financial managers here in Mississauga. Back in the Hazel days, we continue the same. So I welcome the opening of our books. Please come, please come and see that we're the amount of impact is not being exaggerated. So we welcome that. And there's also a problem. So it's not only development charges, it's the parkland levies. They're suggesting that the development community doesn't have to give us as much money for parkland or dedicate as much land. So in the most densely populated areas, like in my downtown, they will not have to provide as much parkland. So we'll have a lot of condominiums being built without a lot of green space for children or for, you know, people to walk or walk their dogs, in fact. And then the final issue that I would highlight is the reserves. There is a notion that cities are sitting on large reserves, and those should be used to fund our infrastructure. So I can share with you that those reserves are allocated. They're also tightly controlled by the provincial government. They give us the approvals to increase our development charges each year. They get locked into reserves because those reserves are allocated to our capital projects. For instance, if I need to build a bridge, the Goreway Bridge is being built. It took years to put money in the bank from the development charges so that we could build that bridge. It's like, think of it from a consumer's point of view. You know, you may need a new roof in a few years. So you start setting money aside each year so you don't take that hit in 1 year, and you don't have to go out and finance that roof because it'll cost you much more to carrying the financing. So our reserves are allocated. They're dedicated. We can't touch them for any other purpose. They're approved by the provincial government, and that's how municipal finances work. To have us withdraw from our reserves will put us in a very serious financial jeopardy. So those are some of the larger problems with the bill, but at its core, I certainly understand and agree that we want to build more housing and we want to make it affordable, or in the Premier's words, attainable for middle-income families to purchase. But at the same time, I don't want to incentivize the development community to not pass on the savings and or to build strictly condominiums, because we know that's not suitable for everyone. New families, large families need 2-3 bedrooms, not just 750 square feet.
Sure. Bill 23, does that put compromised developments like Lakeview and Brightwater?
No, they of course, they're grandfathered. Going forward, should they come back to us for any changes that could affect them, but it certainly will impact the city's ability to build infrastructure in any new developments, because we won't have the same resources. We won't have the same amount of revenue coming in each year. We're going to be at a deficit of, we've estimated, $85 million a year. And that is our capital plan. That's there to build, renovate community centers, rinks, splash pads, libraries, well, not only roads, bridges, sewers, everything you can think of. That's the money that we've got set aside to build, to enhance our roads, to repave our roads, to build that new bridge, to remodel community centers. And then, of course, there are all the fire stations that need to be rebuilt. We need new fire stations. We need 4 to maintain service levels. And then the existing fire stations also need to be renovated to accommodate the fact that we now have female firefighters. And we know that they stay over, and of course, they need their own accommodations. So, it's putting a significant dent in our capital plans.
Okay, let's move on from Bill 23, but this is kind of a good segue. Property taxes are going to increase by 6%, combination of city and Peel region. Do you think that's a lot?
So those are proposed budget increases. That will not equate to the total tax increase to the taxpayer. Now, It's going to be a tough couple of years, largely because we're still coming out of COVID. And we still have a deficit coming out of COVID. And as you and I talked about, there is the lag effect of the PILT from Mississauga from the airport that we've been hit for, the $24 million. So we have that to cope with. And now these proposed changes on top of it. So certainly we are looking at, I've read the budget binders, they're not pretty. And, we will be looking very closely at what can be delayed, what can be deferred, because in 6%, as you suggest, would be a huge number for consumers. We know interest rates are climbing. There's food insecurity. The cost of food is high. The cost of purchasing gas, fuel is high. We see rents are escalating. Everything is escalating, and it is to the city as well. Of course, when we try to manage our own assets. But nonetheless, that is a very large number. So you can bet we will take out our pencils and cut wherever we can, or delay or defer or move it down the road. But then that's even before, that's the COVID impact.
True.
Now, when we look at Bill 23, as I mentioned, that could be an $85 million hit. That's another 5 to 10%. You've heard mayors across the GTA saying, what do we do? Do we put a new levy on the tax bill? There's one mayor that suggested that we call it the provincial housing tax. So these are considerations. We're going into budget starting next week. We've got a lot of work to do. I've got, 4 new counselors. A couple of them have some financial training, and I'm really excited about that. They're going to bring that skill set. But we're going to be sharpening our pencils, both at the region and the city, because this is—
You guys don't really use pencils?
No, it's just a metaphor. You understand, it's a metaphor for the kind of work we have to do, and we have to do quite a bit. And then the concern is there needs to be changes in Bill 23. If you're going to take revenue away from us, we need to be compensated in some way. This revenue that we lose on the back of the taxpayer speaks to profitability for the development community. These are profits. If you take away $100,000 in development charges, it's profit to the development community. And there's no guarantee that that amount of money will be, that savings will be passed on to the home buyer. If that had been a feature of Bill 23, I would have been a little more comfortable. But there's nothing in Bill 23 that says that those development charges, the savings, need to be passed on. There's no guarantee it'll bring down the price of a home. We know what determines the price of a home. The market conditions, market forces determine the price of a home. That's exactly right. So, price is different from cost.
Yep. So let me move on. One question that we get all the time whenever I put out my face and say, "Hey, ask a question to the mayor on Instagram," is I'm talking about leaving Peel, Mississauga leaving Peel. And one of the questions that was added onto that was, "Will that decrease taxes? Will that increase taxes?"
So we have done a study in 2019 that showed that we could save significantly over a 10-year period. It could be $1 billion savings over 10 years. But at the same time, all the programs and services that are currently delivered by the region would be delivered by the city. So there would be an adjustment, but that was all factored in, and there would still be $1 billion of savings beginning in year 10, and then hopefully that's the payback, and then we see more incremental savings following. So, there was very good news that the Premier announced that there would be facilitators working with the 4 regions, and we would be looking at our books and what would make more sense. And I know, and you know what makes more sense, that Mississauga be a standalone city. We are the 3rd largest in Ontario. It's time that we control our own destiny. And we all agree that our tax dollars should support our growth and our priorities, not be invested into the growth and the priorities of the other 2 municipalities. And it's not right, and it's not equitable or fair that we go to another level of government, a regional government, for permission and approval our priorities. So all this has to change. We already know that we pay 60% of the freight up at the region, and we're only 50% of the vote. But in addition, it's just time to have everyone at one council table. Think about the duplication. I mean, when I pitched it to the Premier, I said, look, you want to build housing? Here's one way to cut red tape and eliminate duplication so we can speed up the development process. Let's eliminate the region. We'll do it all at the city, and it'll happen so much faster. We get approvals out, permits out faster. So I hope that message resonated with him.
Yeah, and I think, I've talked to a lot of restaurateurs, and they say the same thing.
Oh, I hope so. We'll tell them all to write a note to the Premier that they're in agreement.
Well, appeals only one that you have to have 2 levels of government, right, to approve. But anyways, so
right. Well, they're looking at the 4 regions: York, Durham, Peel, Halton, Niagara. Oh, I've got 5 in there. One of them they're not looking at, but I think Niagara, Halton, Peel, and York.
Okay, awesome. And then let's talk about the biggest pier coming out of Lake Ontario. Is there an update on that, or I know we're probably a decade away.
I've seen the plans for that. It is very, very exciting.
Okay.
And there's opportunity for restaurants on the pier and little shops. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And the developers, the Lakeview Group, are really excited about it as well. But it's a significant cost. They're estimating it at $100 million. So, how does one pay for that? They're talking about upfronting the cost, but then the city doesn't get the DCs in the bank in our revenue stream. They get the credits for them, so it's different. But it's very exciting news. It would be a huge amenity to Mississauga and the Lakeview development. And I think we've had the conversation that could more easily happen if we were a single tier city, because all those development charges that would fund it would come to the city rather than the region. So I think they're on board with it. But it's very exciting. Can you imagine? And of all of the things to come and see when you're in the GTA, the bustling downtown of Toronto, and then the CN Tower, and then the pier in Mississauga. I mean, I think it's just one of those must-see tourist attractions for our city. I think it would be wonderful. Question of the financing and timing and all of that, but it is a very exciting project for sure.
Yeah, if it happens, it'll be the biggest thing for tourism in Mississauga, I think, ever. So LRT Loop, I was exiting off Highway 10. I noticed that they're building the loop already. Like there's kind of bridge fixings going towards square one. Is there any news on that?
I know that's what it looks like, but that's not actually the case. That is the stop. Yeah, I know, at here, Ontario, at Square One, and connects with our transit terminal there. But the exciting news, it can be added at any time. So when I did have my meeting with the Premier, when he advised me that he would have these facilitators coming in to make some decisions about regional governance and looking at our assets and liabilities and all that was very exciting. And he said, I didn't forget that I promised you that loop, and we'll see how we can make that happen. So he did remind me, and I was very elated to hear those words from him. I haven't forgotten. I promised you the loop, and he promised Hazel the loop as well. And so hopefully we'll hear an announcement about that, because the LRT is really only 3 years away now. So we'd want to get it added, and during this construction cycle. So
the construction is very visual now. So let's talk about the Port Credit Marina. Is there any way of getting a beach? Like I heard that could we get a beach there or no?
I don't know if that's the logical place for a beach. I'll be honest with you. Port Credit is the deepest, most natural, deepest harbor on Lake Ontario. So that is a natural marina. I think that, there is already a couple of beaches, and, as you know, off the parks, I have one here at Crooks Park near where I live. And certainly at the Brightwater development and at the Lakeview development, there'll be lots of opportunity for beaches. I just don't think at the marina on Port Street is the right place for it, because I think that's where the harbor is very deep. And that's why it makes the most sense that the public marina be located there. Then we just need to get that environmental assessment done and get some funding for it.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Got one last question here that I just got hot off the presses of Instagram Live.
Okay.
I got to ask, would
Which is
you never run for the Ontario Liberal leadership? Would you
so this is
never run?
like is this like which one is your favorite child? Is this
Yeah.
like and I know who's sending in these questions, by the way. So, I have said that the city of Mississauga is my sole focus. I'm dedicated to my residents, and I'm, enjoying being mayor, and I'm very grateful for the privilege of being the steward of this city, and was just reelected with a large margin. So I want to say thank you to the residents. I'm very committed to my city.
So would you never run though?
Well, it's not in the cards, no.
Okay. All right. Last question. In 2023, what's the biggest mission that you want to accomplish for the city of Mississauga?
Yeah, well, that's easy. That'll be, independence. We want Mexit. We want to be a free standalone city. We want to bring the savings back to Mississauga. We want to control our own destiny. And I think that's the most critical new direction vision for Mississauga. I want to bring this home for Hazel. She's something she started about 20 years ago, and I want to ensure that in her lifetime that we complete it for her. So let's get that done. Let's get that done.
And Mayor Crombie, I'm running the Mississauga Half Marathon. I've registered. Are you down?
So I usually run the 5K, and I've run the 10K.
Okay.
The half marathons, I don't have a lot of time to train for that. I'm challenged just to get in the gym and do my workouts.
Are you still going to the gym?
I am. I absolutely am. I'm not right now. I'm a bit congested. But no, I do. And if I can't get to the gym, I'll do the workouts at home. I'm still doing the program. And it's great for me. It's great from a fitness perspective. It's physical health, it's mental health, and I want to ensure everyone that it's the new year, and I know everyone has made those resolutions that they won't keep. It's dry January, everyone, please, and don't forget that it's time to be more serious about your physical regimen, and it's very important to take care of yourself. So I encourage everyone to please, eat properly and get some physical activity, whether it's walking, running, working out. Not only for your personal physical health, but for your mental health as well. And we all make those, pronouncements for the new year. These are our goals. So let's stick to them. Let's stick to them.
So, did you say you're doing 5 or 10 this year?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I probably, if I do it, I'll do 5. I doubt I'll do 10 if I have time to train, but I'm not sure I will. I've done the 10. I did.
Nice.
I wasn't.
How was any advice?
Train.
Right. Oh, I'm trusting. I'm training. I've already started.
Don't do it cold. Don't do it cold.
Cool. Well, Mayor Crombie, thank you so much. I'll catch you next month.